This is the HomePod 2, and I'm either gonna buy this or do a hard pass by the end of this video because this smart speaker is $300. That's expensive. I'm gonna test it out in my smart home, especially with my TV in stereo mode. Let's see if it makes the cut. First, let's look at the design. You know, you want it to look good on your counter or table. There's a reason I have the Amazon Echo off hidden in the corner so no one can see it.
Hey, what did you just say there? You sick son of a mouth.
This new HomePod still looks really clean and modern, and Apple did a good job with the design, except for one thing. Oh, and by the way, Apple did loan me these new HomePod 2nd gens, but I have to send them back and they get no input on what I say in this video. The HomePods come in two colors, white and midnight. The power cable matches the color of the HomePod, which is a nice touch. And unlike the original HomePods or the minis, you can detach the cord from the HomePod. This is great for quickly rebooting the speaker when the cord is plugged in behind furniture, which I already had to do unfortunately because the speaker volumes became unsynced in stereo pair. The screen on top is a little bit bigger, but I'm just not a fan of the location, and here's why. I can't see if Siri is listening to me when I'm sitting across from it. I prefer a more obvious light, like on the Echoes, to let me know if it's listening, but that's the only design flaw I can find. I like the overall design of the HomePod though, and think it's the best looking smart speaker available right now. Even Allie gave it the green light to be displayed out in the open, so I'm one step closer to committing to these. When it comes to the sound of the new HomePods, you've probably heard that it's the most amazing, magical experience your ears have ever witnessed, and I've read that too. But I wanted to try it out for myself and see if it's worth it. So I listened to it next to a few different speakers around my house. And it's good. It's really good. I mean, it should be, right? It's $300, but you don't have to be an audiophile to hear how good it is. The bass is full. There is great separation from the vocals and instruments, which all sound very clear. It's the real deal. What's interesting is that there's an accelerometer sensor on the HomePod. You might be like, why would they put that on a speaker? Well, that sensor can tell if the HomePod is moved. Once it's placed in the new spot, it will remap the room for the best sound experience, which is pretty sweet. And it seemed to work well moving it to different areas of my house. When I put the two together in stereo mode, it adjusted the sound so it felt like there was a center channel and sounds all around me. It's kind of bizarre because it's the closest thing I've tried to replicating my full theater room speakers with only two of them. But of course, it's not the same as a full-on surround sound system. That's the only thing I was slightly let down on. From all the hype, I was expecting this magical experience that defied all physics. It's not quite that. I probably had my expectations a little too high, but it is extremely good. Like, you can set the HomePods to max volume and they sound amazing. These sound amazing! Seriously, any other speaker I've tried becomes very uncomfortable to listen to when you're near max volume, except for the HomePod and HomePod Mini. One thing I appreciate is when you turn up the volume high on the HomePods, which if you're like me, you're probably going to do often, when you speak to Siri, she'll respond not at that high volume level, but at a lower, more conversation level.
Down from 60 to 46 degrees tonight.
You can turn this off in the settings, but I wish the Echoes had this feature. They can only make the voice response louder. Come on, I want the opposite. Speaking of which, I want to compare the smart home features of the HomePod with the Echo because they are very similar, but also very different. And if the Echo is good enough, I might want to use the cheaper option. So both of them have a temperature sensor inside that you can use to run automations. Like if it's getting warm in a room, it can automatically turn on a fan for some airflow. They also both have a smart home hub inside to be a Matter controller and a Thread border router. What this means is when Matter compatible devices are available, you'll be able to add them to Apple's Home app. So it won't just be HomeKit devices anymore. so that should give you a lot more smart home options in the future. As for Thread, it's a low-power mesh system for devices like sensors. It's more stable than Wi-Fi, and you'll be able to connect those Thread devices using the HomePod 2nd Gen. But you can also do all of this with the HomePod Mini, so you don't have to buy the more expensive HomePod to get these features. And like I said, the Echo has all these features as well. But now let's talk about the differences, and one is music. And if you use Spotify like I do, the bad news is you cannot use your voice to play songs on the HomePod. But just like the Mini, you can play the song on your phone and transfer it to the HomePod to play music using AirPlay. This works okay, but I wish I could just tell Siri to use Spotify. Is that so much to ask? The second big difference is the voice assistant. Siri is not as advanced, which can be frustrating, but on the other side of the coin, Siri never tries to sell me things like someone else I know.
Did someone mention shopping? You want to buy a dozen eggs from Amazon for $45?
Some of you might be like, yeah, that's why I use Siri and HomePods. None of that advertising garbage. And I hear you. But the fact that Apple is pushing Apple Music and you can't use Spotify on the HomePods, it kind of feels like, a different way to advertise to the user. I don't know, maybe that's just me though. Oh, and there's a humidity sensor on the new HomePod and Mini, which you won't find on the Echo. But there is one really big similarity and difference between the HomePod and the Echo. So big that it might negate everything else. That is the stereo speakers connected to the TV. Amazon Echoes can do this, and I tried it out last year and it was not great. The audio didn't sync properly, sometimes the audio just didn't work, and I finally had to stop using it after multiple failed attempts. So yes, the HomePods and the Echoes are similar in that they can both do this, but they're different because the HomePods actually sync perfectly with the Apple TV. We watched a full movie and it was synced the entire time with zero issues. This was awesome and makes the HomePod way more tempting to get. Unfortunately, you can't get the older HomePod to sync in stereo pair with the newer 2nd Gen. I think they couldn't get the older or the newer speaker to sound similar to use enough. Either way, it's a bummer if you had an older HomePod and you were looking to get a second. The HomePods are a great option for TV speakers though. We have never wanted a soundbar here or anything that looks like an ugly speaker. Yes, you can use the HomePod Minis for your TV speakers, and that works fine for casual TV watching.
Tom Brady will have options over the next month or two.
But you put on a movie and the Minis, they just don't cut it. You'll want the bigger HomePods. I think the HomePods and the Apple TV are a killer combo because not only can you go loud, but you can also go dead silent. One of the main reasons I bought the Apple TV for this room is so that my wife and I can watch TV at night. Quality time where we're on separate couches and we both have our AirPods in connected to the Apple TV. I know that sounds ridiculous, but if you've had kids, you know that playing something loud at night is just an invite for the kids to get out of bed. The other benefit of having the HomePods hooked up to the Apple TV is the Spotify app. Between this and transferring my phone's music over, the lack of Spotify support is bearable. To me, having the new HomePods synced up to the Apple TV is where I feel like I'm getting the most value out of them. Since I'm using them daily for the TV, voice assistant if I need it, and of course the smart home hub features. With all that being said, if I'm looking at buying a HomePod as a standalone $300 smart speaker, I don't know if I can justify it for only that purpose. Even with the amazing sound quality, I don't think it's 3 times better than the Echo 4th Gen for 3 times the price. Plus, the HomePod Mini has all the same smart home features. And just to be clear, before trying out the HomePod, I did not want to buy one. I'm not an Apple fanboy that will just buy anything that Apple makes. I promise. Oh, come on, I promise you. But I made one huge, massive, ginormous mistake. I listened to the HomePods in stereo mode, synced to the TV, and I can't unhear how amazing everything sounded coming from those 2 HomePods that look great on top of our cabinets. I'm sending these 2 HomePods back to Apple, and because it works so well with my TV, I'm going to be buying 2 that will replace it. You got me, Apple. You got me.
I have a great view up here, unlike you in the corner.
HomePod, is that you? I thought Apple gave up on you years ago.
Who knows how long you will even be around with all the layoffs at Amazon.
Oh, that's so sad. Play me a sad song on Spotify. Oh wait, you can't.
At least I'm smart enough to sync with the TV and just work.
Let's see, what's one of your best new features? You can detach the plug. Wow, I'm speechless.
I'll make you speechless. I'll play white noise for 12 hours.
No, please don't.